Good evening. I would like to welcome you all in this special event on the occasion of the International Women's Day. This event is organized by Beirut Film Society and the Beirut International Women Film Festival. It is supported by the Embassy of Canada in Lebanon, as you received in the invitation. I'm happy to see all those persons joining us in this exceptional panel with those exceptional ladies. I would like first to welcome you all and to thank the Embassy of Canada to Lebanon, and in particular, Her Excellency Ambassador Chastanet, for supporting such event and for being present with us. I also thank Ms. Maya Barakat, the responsible of public affairs in the embassy, who coordinated all this event and guided the whole process. I would like also to thank all those involved in the event, mainly our partners, the Lebanese Film Festival in Canada, and also Female Eye Film Festival and Women Helping Empower Women. Also, I would like to welcome and thank Ms. Lamia Charlebois, who is coordinating this event, who is moderating the panel, and the panelists, mainly Judy Rebic. It's really an honor meeting you on this panel. And so you are, since we don't know each other from previous meetings, and in fact, I discovered you in this documentary. Excuse my ignorance, but it was a discovery for me, and it was an inspiring discovery. And I also want to thank the panelists, Dr. Georgette Zinati, lawyer Patricia Smida, Elias Smida, and director Leslie Ann Collis. And definitely, I would like also to thank who is present with us, also the director of the short film that was subject to this discussion. We have two films, as you know, Judy versus Capitalism and Ain't No Time for Women. So we have the director of Ain't No Time for Women, Sarah Al-Abed from Tunisia. She's with us. I would also like to thank all the team in Canada and in Lebanon. In Lebanon, mainly Doris Saba, coordinator of the event, and Ornella Malouf, Eva Weiss, and Najwa Mallah, who worked on the preparations. And definitely, I thank all the attendees that are present with us. Allow me to mention that Beirut Film Society is an association that is active in Lebanon since 2007. And we've been active in cinema under the title Cinema for a Cause, or Responsible Filmmaking, Responsible Cinema. And we've always, during our all this trip that journey that we had together as a team, we always worked as a team, regardless of who is a woman or a man, and we empowered the work of women in the association and in all our activities. And under this ideology, we founded the Beirut International Women Film Festival, which objective is mainly on two channels. First, to raise awareness about the role of women in the film industry, and to promote for gender equality and equity in the film industry. And second, to break this, or to educate people on understanding how women should be portrayed in media and film. I will cut it short and introduce you to start the panel. I will introduce first our supporter, main supporter, Ambassador Chastanet, Chantal Chastanet. Ambassador Chastanet holds a BA in Political Science and History from McGill University and an MA International Relations from Laval University. She joined External Affairs and International Trade Canada in 1993. And since then, she has held various positions, including Deputy Chief of Protocol and Director of the Diplomatic Corps Services. She also worked in human resources in the Francophonie Division and in the Middle East sector. During her career, she has held a number of positions abroad, mainly in the Arab countries, in Morocco, in Jordan, and was responsible for political relations with Iraq. She was also political counselor at the embassy in Paris, and she became deputy head of mission and minister counselor at the embassy to Mexico in 2016. In 2020, she was appointed as ambassador to Canada, of Canada to Lebanon. And since her arrival to Lebanon, she took the lead in coordinating the exceptional emergency plan and the Canadian support after the Beirut explosion, where the embassy played a tremendous role in the relief efforts. Her Excellency also is an advocate for human rights and women's rights, and she is always on top when it comes to supporting similar initiatives. I will leave the floor to you, Ambassador Chastenay. We want to hear your introduction and your words.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. Chers collègues, chers panélistes et participants, chers partenaires, mesdames et messieurs, c'est vraiment un grand plaisir et un grand honneur pour moi d'être avec vous ce soir et de participer à ce prestigieux panel autour de l'autonomisation des femmes, tel que documenté au grand écran et vécu dans la réalité. J'aimerais d'abord remercier notre partenaire, le Beirut Film Society, et son président, M. Sam Laoud, pour son dynamisme et sa diligence. J'aimerais aussi souhaiter la bienvenue à nos prestigieuses panélistes, Mme Judy Rebic, Mme Leslie Ann Coles, Dr. Georgette Zinati, Maître Patricia Elias et notre modératrice, Mme Lamia Charlebois. Ces championnes de l'autonomisation des femmes et de l'égalité des genres qui ont répondu avec enthousiasme à notre invitation. Bienvenue aussi à la directrice du film, Mme Sarah El Abed. We're gathered today to celebrate together the International Day of Women. We all know women who inspire us every day. Through our panel tonight, we honor women pioneers, those who challenge norms, support other women and girls, and improve their respective communities and countries. Those makers of change who break down barriers and open new avenues. Gender equality, the empowerment of women and girls, and the realization of their human rights are key Canadian priorities, both at home and abroad. The full and equal participation of women and girls in all aspects of social, economic, and political life, and the elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls, including online, are all critical to a stable, democratic, and economically prosperous world. After all, women are half the population, and there is a clear relation between women's political participation and economic prosperity. Canada supports the full political empowerment of women at all levels. Lorsque les femmes et les filles ont leur mot à dire dans la prise de décision politique et les programmes peuvent être ainsi mieux conçus pour répondre aux besoins de tous. En outre, il est important d'engager les hommes et les garçons en tant que partenaires pour parvenir à l'autonomisation de toutes les femmes et les filles. Nous avons tous un rôle à jouer pour atteindre une égalité des genres réelle et durable. Les gestes, petits et grands, d'une seule personne peuvent être porteurs de grands changements. Ensemble, continuons à militer en faveur du progrès afin que nous puissions tous réaliser notre plein potentiel. Je vous remercie de votre attention. Je vous remercie de votre participation. Merci.
Thank you, Ms. Chastenay. Thank you. I would like now to introduce our moderator for this evening, Ms. Lamia Charlebois. In fact, I first met Lamia when she was introduced by my colleague Hailaf Hachiti in Canada as one of the main supporters of the Lebanese Film Festival in Canada. And since then, day after day, I discover more and more how genuine she is in supporting all initiatives, and especially those related to Lebanon and promoting for the Lebanese culture. Well, Lamia has more than 25 years of experience in communication, and after having worked in large corporations and agencies, she launched her own public relations company in 2003. Her expertise includes strategic counselor, crisis management, media relations, individual coaching, or group workshops in communication, leadership, personal branding, and public speaking. She was a commentator on Radio Canada, live morning radio show, had a weekly column in L'Express, and writes regularly for magazines. She speaks 4 languages and has lived in Beirut, Quebec City, Ottawa, and Toronto, and now she is based in Montreal. A recipient of a business award, CCICL, a top 25 Canadian immigrants finalist. She is also exhibited in the Canadian Museum of Immigration. She confirms that it is better than the Fossil Museum. Lamia published a book, is writing a second one, co-founded a foundation in her mother's memory to help women in need pay for their cancer treatments, and had launched Libanais de Montréal, Sirop d'Arabe, an apolitical, non-commercial, and secular platform of information. She holds a BA and an MA in communication and public relations, an ex-athletics champion, and a former judoka, and she continues to practice several sports. Lamia, the floor is yours. Thank you.
My God, Sam, thank you very much. This is too flattering and exhausting. I should retire. Bonsoir, everyone in Beirut, and good morning, everyone in Montreal. I'm very happy to be here today with you on International Women's Day plus 364, because every day is Women's Day. We hold a lot on our shoulders. Not that we don't love men, but we do hold a lot on our shoulders. I have a special message to Lebanese women in Lebanon. We see you. We know that the weight on your shoulders is double the weight on anybody's shoulders, especially after August 4th explosion. For those who lost a child, a husband, a brother, or parents, Allah yarhamun, we send you our sincere condolences. And don't worry, here in the diaspora, we are here next to you, far away, but not too far away, because we do absolutely care. Why do we support things like films and arts and culture? Because it's also an act of resistance. Humanitarian aid is crucial, but Lebanon should still be out there in terms of culture and other fights. Un grand bonsoir et merci à son Excellence Madame l'ambassadrice, Madame Chantal Chastenay, que j'ai eu le bonheur de rencontrer malheureusement dans des mauvaises circonstances le 18 août. Nous étions un petit task force pour le Liban et c'était la veille de votre départ et je vous avais dit que vous allez trouver le Liban épuisant mais génial et que vous allez rencontrer mes amis et ma famille, et ainsi fut fait. Et je viens d'apprendre que vous avez bu l'huile d'olive des oliviers de ma grand-mère. Donc, je suis très touchée et je vais trinquer ici à votre santé et à la santé du Liban. Madame Barakat, merci pour tout ce que vous faites. Public Affairs at the Canadian Embassy in Lebanon, you're my colleague. We all know we need the public, we need affairs, and we need the hard work that we both do, sometimes dans les coulisses. Merci le Beirut Film Society, le Beirut International Women Film Festival. Sam Lahoud, thank you for your trust. I don't know how you keep trusting me. I'm a walking Energizer bunny, but thank you for that. The Lebanese Film Festival in Canada, I am so honored to be the godmother, and I expect all of you to be hopefully live on a red carpet with a long dress and high heels. God knows if you can still walk in them in September. Otherwise, online, last year we had a very successful online COVID-19 unfriendly festival, but we did it. So, and thank you everyone for keeping this bridge between our adoptive country, Canada, and Lebanon, our motherland. It's very important. So we have a fierce panel. When I say fierce, it's positive. They're incredible ladies. Before this panel, we watched 2 movies. I don't know if you did, but if not, you can still do so. Judy versus Capitalism, directed by Mike Hulboom, featuring Miss Judy Rebic, who is here with us. She's one of our panelists. And the second movie was Ain't No Time for Women, a 20-minute little gem directed by Sarah Al-Abed, young, talented. Sarah, vous avez beaucoup de talent. J'ai très hâte de voir vos prochains films. C'était un petit bijou de film qui se déroule en Tunisie et c'est sur le pouvoir des femmes et leur vote. Merci d'être avec nous aujourd'hui et j'ai hâte de voir ce que vous avez pour nous les prochaines années. La barre est haute là. Vous avez bien fait, c'est le premier. Merci. So I'll introduce the 4 panelists. Each one had 4 pages bio. So I'll try to concentrate it in a few minutes, although their activities span worldwide. I will start with Judy Rebic. She's an author, social activist, feminist, broadcaster, public speaker. She championed the rights of women, minorities, and the working class since the 60s, although she's young. She was a member of the NDP's Waffle Caucus and a pro-choice spokesperson for the Ontario Coalition for Abortion Clinics. In 1983, she and abortion advocate, Dr. Henry Morgan Taylor, were walking towards the clinic in Montreal when an anti-abortion crazy guy jumped on Morgan Taylor's to attempt his life with a garden shear. And Judy just stood between them and saved Dr. Morgan Taylor. She's that kind of woman. She rose to national prominence as the president of the National Action Committee on the Status of Women, and as the host of CBC TV programs, she also advanced a lot of causes. From 2002 to 2010, she was the Sam Giddens Chair in Social Justice and Democracy at Ryerson University. She's also a best-selling author and was the founding publisher of Rabble.ca. Judy, thank you for being with us. Georgette Zinati, Executive Vice President, Corporate Class, Inc., who leads the Leadership, Diversity, Inclusion, Equity practice. She's also the founder of WOO, Women Helping Empower Women. Kudos to finding this acronym. She spent more than 2 decades at the top university in Canada, U of T, and most recently as key member of the senior leadership team taking a campus campaign from $100,000 to almost $40 million. Bravo, Georgette. She's also a TEDx speaker. I missed you on stage. We were not in the same TEDx. She has been recognized as one of 6 Canadian empowering women. She's on the board of advisors for Entrepreneurial Leadership and Leaning Alliance, ELA, again, another successful acronym, and is co-chair of the inaugural Chiefs of Intellectual Property chapter in Canada. Dr. Zinati has been published in Forbes as a thought leader and a change maker. She's a proud mom of 3 amazing young future leaders. Georgette, welcome with us. And again, you prove that motherhood and career and achievements is doable if you take vitamin C and espressos. Leslie Ann Coles. Leslie is a wonderful creature that I met too late. Where were you in the last 20 years? I knew of you, but I didn't meet you live. It's an honor to have you here today. Filmmaker and founder, executive director of the Female Eye Film Festival. She's an award-winning screenwriter and filmmaker who works with both scripted and non-scripted material and has worked in a variety of genres. Ms. Coles recently released an interactive digital media companion app with her multi-award winning feature documentary, Melody Makers. She's an alumni of the Women's in the Director's Chair program and the founder of executive director of the Female Eye Film Festival in Toronto in Canada. In her capacity as festival director, she evaluates and selects independent films from more than 2,500 international entries every year. She dedicated 18 years to modern dance as a choreographer, performer, and arts educator before transitioning from the stage to the screen in 2001 with her debut film, In the Refrigerator, which she wrote, directed, and starred in. It screened at 35 international film festivals and garnered 13 awards. Leslie, I wait for you in Montreal to take you to Place des Arts to watch a contemporary dance show, hopefully soon after COVID hell. Last but not least, Patrice Elias, lawyer specializing in international law, women's rights activist, a Lebanese-French political and humanitarian activist who worked in Lebanon, France, and Gabon on different social and human rights initiatives for women and children. She is a UN Women Partnership Associate, founder of Avenir Liban, a think tank for the promotion of democracy, human rights, women and children's rights, board member of the Human Rights Center at the Beirut Arab University. She was awarded the French Medal of Associative Commitment from the Mayor of Paris and Ile-de-France for her global engagement in human rights. Founder of Women's Awards in Women's Rights, in Lebanon, that rewards NGOs and personal initiatives that advance women's rights. Founding member of the National Coalition for the Political Participation of Women in Lebanon. She's also a perfect blend of East and West. And Patricia, you'll be happy to know that both my brother and uncle are on this Zoom. They both met you at the cafe, at the Mandanoun Cafe in Beirut a few years ago. Welcome with us. So how is it gonna work today? It's easy. Participants, please stay with us until we have 1 hour together as of now. I will ask one question to each panelist. Each panelist will take 2 minutes to answer this question. And then I will ask each panelist a specific question according to her little domain. And in the meantime, anybody participating now can ask their questions in the chat. Haylov Hachiti and Sam Lahoud will redirect some of the questions to me. Obviously, we will not be able to ask them all. So I'll start by the first question to all wonderful ladies, the panelists. How would you define feminism in 2021? And I will start with you, Judy, if you can give us your opinion on that. So how would you define feminism in 2021? Can you unmute, Judy, please, your microphone? That little detail.
First, I'd like to express my solidarity with the people of the women and the men of Lebanon. I know that your situation is terrible, and I want to express solidarity that you can overcome it. How do I explain feminism in 2021? To me, feminism is intersectional. And that kind of means every issue is a feminist issue, because I think my generation of feminists focused on those issues that affected all women, like violence against women, childcare, pay equity. But today we understand that we have to focus, and what we did by doing that was we helped women who were already somewhat privileged. What we have to do now with intersectional feminism is understand that all the different systems of oppression are connected: capitalism, colonialism, racism, sexism, and patriarchy. And that we have to address all of these inequalities if we're going to achieve equality for women.
Thank you very much, Judy. I wish we had more time. This debate could be taken on for 4 hours. Leslie Ann Coles, how would you define feminism in 2021?
I would say that feminism, by definition, has always meant equality for all. But I would say that feminism in 2021 is more inclusive. It is inclusive of marginalized and racialized communities, including the LGBTQ and BIPOC communities. So I feel that the feminist movement or feminism has certainly embraced more marginalized communities. That's what I would say has changed.
Which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing. Georgette.
There you go. Thank you. I had to unmute there. Well, you know, I think my definition actually aligns very well with both Judy's and Leslie Ann's. To me, feminism now is bolder than ever. It's organized much better because of social media. It's given us a platform to actually kind of bring and unified voices. It certainly, I think, supports as is inclusive of all genders. And it's important because the focus is really about equity and inclusion, and it welcomes and supports this whole notion of empowerment. So, you know, I think growing up, we saw feminism as, you know, people who thought of it as burning bras and so forth, but I think it's much more. And we also see the power of feminism and the power of one. And feminism, when I say is inclusive, it includes men, because we want men and we want all genders to see themselves as feminists. Because if you have a daughter, if you have a mother, then you should be a feminist. And so, and when I talk about the power of one, I was saying this with respect to Judy, you know, we can make change. So think about Me Too and the changes that has made when we think about Time's Up and thinking about the impact that one person or a couple of people can make in terms of creating accountability. And so to me, it's really built on the shoulders of amazing people like Judy and others that have really fought the fight and actually set us up to be where we are today. And we hold a great deal of responsibility, every single woman and man. I think it's important for us to ensure that our voices and the platforms that we have, whether it's through WU, whether it's an executive director, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're just a, you know, you're a mom, whatever it is that you do, I think feminism in 2021 is actually founded on the ability for us to all work together to change and shift the gender gap that we see today.
Totally agree. And if you're a mom, you have to also work a lot on your sons, not only your daughters.
100%. I have 2 boys and a girl. And let me tell you, everyone does dishes, everyone mops the floor, everyone, you know, I teach them about, you know, the understanding of how to treat other women. Because
relationships.
100%. Because if we don't do that now, then when?
Especially that social media is completely twisting relationships. Patricia, your take on feminism in 2021.
Yes, as a lawyer, I searched for the definitions of feminism. So I found it's the belief in social, economic, and political equality of the sexes. It is working on women's rights and interests. Personally, I believe, like all the ladies said, that each woman have to be a feminist, and each wise man also. I will say also that feminism in 2021 depends on the country you are living in. As you heard, the ladies that are living in Western countries, you know, they have a broad approach of feminism. In Lebanon and in the Arab countries, I will say that the word feminism is a luxury because we are deprived from our basic rights. So it's a human rights abuse we are fighting against. Feminism in Lebanon, in the Arab countries, means the basic rights. I will give you some example. Women are deprived from the guardianship of their own children. It means that a mother, when she has her children, she has the same rights as you and me as strangers on her own children. It's the father that has the sole guardianship, and this means that in case of divorce, he can retail the children with him, and she can live all her life without seeing her children. This is a basic rights of mothers that we don't have in Arab countries and in Lebanon. On divorce also, the woman has, if the father is kind enough to let her stay with the children, to let her children with her, if she remarries, the guardianship of the children will, she will not have, they will take the children from her and give them back to the father. They also, and it's always religious courts that will have the power. We have 18 religious courts in Lebanon, and each one will have her own, we don't have one unique law for everybody ruling personal status. So for the divorce also, if she meets, like I said, somebody else and she wants to remarry, she automatically loses the children. Or the courts can say that she is not adequate to raise her children, and those things are not done for the father. The father can do whatever he wants. He will keep the guardianship of his children. Also, nationality, Lebanese women and most of the Arab countries, women doesn't give their nationality to their children. Men, and also you know that men in Lebanon in certain religion can have many spouses. They can have 4 spouses. They can give the nationality to the 4 spouses, and
which is a nightmare.
But not the women. Women marrying a stranger, non-Lebanese, cannot give their nationality to their children, and this is a huge problem. And also, just to say, the searching child marriage in Lebanon, we don't have a minimum age for for marriage. So some of the religion can marry children, girls at the age of 9. All of these are basic rights we are fighting for.
Patricia, all your points are right on, and we will still be fighting for all these issues. And hopefully, there are so many issues in Lebanon to fight for that these should not drown in the other ones. But I just have to say that in terms of feminism and activism, let's not forget that the Thawra, the revolution in October in Beirut, was led by women mostly. And that's why they called it the Thawra Untha. So as much as we have powerful activists, as much as we lack in the human rights in Lebanon, I agree with you. Question number 2. I wish we had more time for each one of you, but unfortunately not, but we'll cover enough important issues to let people think and move forward. What are the issues women have been facing and are still facing because you're all 4 of you are activists. Some of you started 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So what are the issues that were important back then, are still important today, and we have unfortunately not accomplished much? I will start with Leslie this time. If you want to unmute, yeah, thank you.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
That's a very big question. So I would say in Canada, because I can really only speak to Canada, even though we have a very defined and elaborate and intricately articulated human rights, I feel that women still fight discrimination. For example, women that are in domestic situations where they're enduring domestic violence and they choose to leave their partner with their children, there's still stigmatization, that women still deal with the stigmatization based on the choices that they make, whether they leave a husband or they, abandoning, fleeing an abusive situation, or getting a divorce, or being an artist. There's still bias and discrimination in our country, despite our human rights, which is quite, as I said, extensive and maintained. There's still a lot of social discrimination against women. There always has been. for women being divorced, women remarrying, women being divorced 3 times, women remarrying, women having more than one child with more than one partner, women choosing to abort a child, even if it's a product of rape. There is still a systemic prejudice against women. Women in our country are penalized much harsher than men for committing a crime of equal measure. If a woman has to feed her children, for example, and she goes into a store and she has a weapon and accidentally, I'm giving a very broad kind of a ridiculous scenario, but it's applicable, and she accidentally kills someone, or she kills an abusive partner. In North America, she will be punished much more severely than a male for the same crime. She will do life. She will spend the rest of her life in jail. So women are also ridiculed much more for, oh my gosh, all kinds of things. I mean, I can tell you, women are incarcerated and then released on their own recognizance when they fight back in a domestic situation. If the male in our country calls the police first, it's the first call, that other partner, regardless of sex, will be removed and detained. And it happens all the time where women are detained, incarcerated, taken from their home. Yes, they are released on their own recognizance, and then they appear in court. But there's been changes that work against women in our country. Anyway.
And that's, imagine, and that's Canada, and we're doing well.
That is Canada.
Imagine. Georgette, thank you very much, Leslie. Georgette, what's your take on this?
Yeah, well, this is an area of research for me, as you know. So there are many issues, I think. If you look at the data, some people would say North America, certainly the numbers have gotten much better. And of course, with COVID, we have an impact on that. We can certainly discuss that later. I would say the issues still remain, that women are still not getting equally paid. If you look at the pay gap, women are still on average in North America, at least 82 cents to every male dollar. And when you look at that in relation to, say, the Middle East or in Lebanon, women make a fraction of what a man makes, and they're not represented in the workforce. But when we look at, and say again, in North American context, representation in the C-suite, we know for a fact that women actually, and this is data in Canada, in the United States, women have more degrees, multiple degrees than their male counterparts. And when you look at the C-suite at the Fortune 500 companies, about 6.6%, or 33 women to be exact, are actually in the C-suite. So we know it isn't a lack of education or talent. So we know that speaks to systemic bias in the system. But what's also interesting is women, I think, lack confidence, and whether that's in Lebanon or any other part of the world, in North America, I think what holds women often back is this ability of us not willing to take these leaps of faith that we know, and I'm a big fan of, like, why not you? That's the one thing I often say to people, like, you have to explain to me why it's not going to be you. And so, this is why when I watch Judy's movie, I'm like, yes, go girl, because it's great. And so the confidence is important. Taking risks is important. And anyone who's watching me speak, I know I'm going to keep hammering this time and time again because I want women to understand. There was a report that came out of Harvard that said men apply for jobs when they have 60% of the qualifications. Women will apply when they have 95+%. That means we are leaving money on the table, we are leaving opportunity on the table, and our career progression is this big compared to theirs. So we have to actually start rethinking what it is that we do and put themselves out there. We have to also speak up. Now, I think the challenge, of course, is women want to speak up, but there's this tension that we often have because we're raised to be likable. They have to like you. So if you speak up, then you're aggressive, and then there's all of that fallout that comes into place with being seen as being aggressive. And when we think of men being aggressive, we think that's a good thing because they're powerful. When a woman is aggressive, we think that's a bad thing. And I think, again, societal expectations. I think we have to think about charting a path for our own future, and what does that look like, and how are you going to get there? And I see a question in the chat, and this is, of course, an area of work that I do a lot of work on. It's women helping women and women tearing other women down. So when I was doing my research, an aha moment was realizing that as I was interviewing all of these women that got into the C-suite, the one commonality, there was many, but one that kind of struck me was this women not helping other women creating barriers for other women, which I could not understand. I mean, I experienced it, but I thought it was just me. So, you know, we have to choose compassion and collaboration over competition, recognizing there's plenty of room for everybody. The more of us at the top, the more of us that can go up to the top. What is that expression? A rising tide lifts all boats. So I think, you know, there are many issues, but I think, you know, and Hey Love knows, she's heard me say this before, you know, I believe that we are in the driver's seat of our life. And if you're going to take the back seat, you're going to stay there and you're going to have no control where your car is going. So I do believe in the power of individuality, and I do believe in the power of our collective voices. And I also think women should help other women, because, you know, if I don't make it someplace and you do, Lamia, then that was meant for you. And there's probably something else in the plan for me, and I'm good with that. And we have to believe that, or else, yeah, I don't think we're going to rise the way we should rise.
Thank you very much, Georgette. And to your point, I think it's not also, I wouldn't call it really aggressivity. Men have a different relationship with risk. We're a bit more careful. We should just be crazier and take more risks. In terms of helping other women, I have discovered in the last 3 years the power of mentoring, only because you cannot mentor when you're 25. You barely know where you're going yourself. But now, at a comfortable certain age, it's our role to mentor younger women and turn them into leaders. And I'm enjoying this a lot. I'll tell you about that.
And I'm going to tell you, sorry, but more important than mentoring is sponsorship. And there's a difference. So mentorship is, you know, when you're helping and you're giving advice. Sponsorship is actually saying, you know what, Lamia's outstanding, and let's give her this opportunity in the organization, or let's put her on this board because she's great. So sponsorship is actually opening a door, and we need to do more of that for each other.
Totally agree. Patricia, so what's your take on this? Ladies, please keep it to 2.5 minutes, only because I still have a lot of great questions for you. Unmute, Patricia, unmute.
I would say that I started being an activist when I was 17 years old, because I was in the university. First hour of my law studies, the dean of the university, that was a woman, came and she read us all the laws, discriminatory laws against women. And I was so shocked because of two of those laws. That the first one was that women couldn't open a commerce without the written authorization of their husbands. Women couldn't travel without the written authorization of their husbands. That I was so shocked that I swear to myself, I took the decision to change those laws, to be an activist, to be a legislator to change those laws. And this is why I wanted to be an MP to change the discriminatory laws in Lebanon. Fortunately, in the 18th, those two laws disappeared, but we still have many other laws that are still discriminatory. Two other laws that I fought for also disappeared. That the law on crime of honor, because the man that make a crime of honor would have no sanction and would not be sanctioned. And also law 522 that stated that when a rapist marries his victim, he doesn't have any sanction also. And this, like this, the girl or the woman is twice sanctioned because she marries her rapist. This law also has been abolished, but there still are many other laws, as I stated before. Nationality, guardianship, civil laws, all of that. You know, even in the Sécurité sociale, the social security laws, a man can give his how do you say? Can put his wife on social security, but the wife cannot, even if she works all her life, she pays the social security, she cannot put her husband on the social security unless he is more than 63 old or if he has disabilities. Explain me why is women are treated differently than men, and you have plethoric of other laws like this.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Judy, what's your take on this?
Well, I guess I'm the only one here who's old enough to have lived through a time when we had no human rights as women, or very few. We had the right to vote, but we didn't have if you were married, you couldn't have a mortgage, you couldn't have a credit card. Rape in marriage was legal. You couldn't say no to your husband until 1983 when we changed it. And so the reason we've got human rights now is because we fought for human rights as women. And at that point in the struggle, all women had a lot in common, which I think is changing now. It's not just that we're more inclusive. It's now the women's movement. It's that the things that we've achieved have helped all women for sure. And it's been a revolutionary change. For example, my mother was an accountant. She went to university. She was the only girl in her class. When I went, in my generation, there were 30% women in my class, but there wasn't a single book. You know, in those days we had like index cards in the library. There wasn't a single, and they were by category. There weren't any books under women, nothing. There was nothing written about women when I went to university. I make a joke, the only woman who I studied in university was George Eliot, who I made a joke that my professor probably thought she was a man, but she used a woman's name because you couldn't get published, a man's name because you couldn't get published otherwise. So we've had a dramatic shift. Now we have a majority of women in university. There's still barriers for sure, but there's been a dramatic shift, and it's all because we fought for it. And I think that's important to say. Today, there are issues which remain unresolved, and the two issues that remain unresolved, I'm not saying completely unresolved, is violence against women. We have shelters, rape crisis centers all across the country. We have a consciousness that it's wrong to beat women in intimate situations, because that wasn't always true. It was hidden before. Now we talk about it, but we still have high levels of intimate gendered violence, and we have to, and I think we won't get rid of that unless we get rid of patriarchy, unless we get rid of the system. So while I agree there's individual things we do, I'm working as a coach now, and I really, like you, I'm really helping young women become leaders, and I love that. But we also have to look at the systems in place, and that's where I think perhaps we need to be, where I think this movement now, or the movement we have now, is stronger because they understand much better the different systems in place that create a situation that in Lebanon people can have, the women can have such terrible access to rights, and in Canada we can have full human rights because we live in a world that's so colonialized. And we have to look at that as feminists and not just look at the individual situation facing women. So.
Thank you very much, Judy. I think to add to all the 4 great interventions, we are also facing new issues with social media. And now we have women bullying women, unfortunately, and social media feeding stupidity, aggressivity, hypersexualization. And it's our role as mothers and fathers to kind of give some guidelines to our children, growing children and young adults, because there are no guidelines out there. It's a complete cowboy land. Social media there are no laws whatsoever. And cyberbullying has become really bad. Question number 3, again, to all 4 of you. This one is a tricky one. What are the new issues that the pandemic brought upon women specifically, and the silver lining? Because there's always good stuff and bad stuff in a crisis. As you know, it could be also an opportunity. So what are the new issues the pandemic brought upon women, and the silver lining? And I will start this time with Georgette.
Okay, well, I mean, the data is showing us that women are the highest impacted by COVID. They've exited the workforce at ridiculous numbers, and we've seen that some of the progress that's been made is at least it's taken women back about 2 decades in terms of us regaining kind of the positions that we are in. And it's making it very difficult because, again, it speaks to the patriarchal system where women are still doing a lot of the work at home, and then, you know, balancing work-life balance just isn't happening. a recent study from RBC actually showed that 64% of women are exiting the system in the last 6 months. So this is between February and October of last year. And what that means is it's not just people being laid off, Lamia, it's actually people who are choosing to leave because they just can't manage stuff anymore. So, and certainly I think McKinsey had a similar report that said 1 in 4 are looking to exit the system. So it's challenging. I think it goes back to what Judy said, which is really, now that we know this and we know we've taken 2 decades back, how do we regain that? And I think it does speak to the fact that we need, as women, as collective, to think about mobilization if we want to actually add up. And, you know, yes, I speak to the power of one, but I also speak to the power of collective voices and thinking about that. And we all now know that the system is broken when it comes to women. You know, we think about it in countries like Lebanon or other countries where we think the disparities there, but we don't think about it in Canada. Well, in Canada, North America, you know, it's not just white women. I mean, white women are being affected, but let me tell you, if you're Black or Hispanic, those numbers are even more magnified. So I think there certainly is a role for us to be thinking about using this as an opportunity to gain ground and rethink our strategy about how we do things better, and using the wisdom of people who have come before us. Like I said, we stand on the shoulders of giants like Judy and others who've done a lot of work in this space. And then how do we learn from what they do? And how do we use social media, to your point, rather than using it as bullying? How do we use social media to mobilize and do amazing things? Like if you think about the Black Lives Matter movement in 2013, it was seen a bit rogue but after George Floyd, it actually mobilized people around the world. And now we see Black Lives Matter as the voice for equality and justice for people of color. And we can do the same for women.
Thank you very much, Georgette. And one positive thing for you during this pandemic, what was it? One?
For me or for other women?
For you.
Oh, so I'm a cup, like all full kind of gal. So during the pandemic, there was many positive things. I got reconnected with my family a little better. I made a career shift. Okay, like, yeah, it's lots of good things.
It's good.
Yeah. You know what? Everything is an opportunity if you want to see it that way. So that's all I'm going to say. So, you know.
Yes, thank you for that.
Everything.
Yes. Patricia, so what do you think are the new issues the pandemic brought upon women and the silver lining, the good stuff?
Well, the good stuff, maybe at the end, because I have the numbers of the UN and the direct impact of the pandemic has been a complete setback for women's rights around the world. We are witnessing a rollback in women's rights of 25 years back. In 1 year, we regressed to 25 years less, according to a UN study on 55 countries. 321 million women lost their jobs against 188 million men. It means the double than the number of men. Women have been forced to quit their jobs en masse due to multiple things, but mostly to forced quarantines, school closing, in order to stay with the children at home and provide them with an education, you know. In the United States, 865,000 women were forced to quit their jobs in 1 month, in just August, okay, compared to 200,000 men. 800,000 women compared to 200,000 men. Look at the problem of this pandemic. There has been an increase in violence against women and cases of, in French we say feminicide. In English we don't have, it's woman slaughter, women killing. Yes, but it's not, yes, but homicide is for men. Homicide comes from you know.
No, femicide. Femicide.
So we have to put women's side from now in English because it's very, very specific. Because it's always the husband or the companion or the ex-companion that kills his wife or companion by beating her to death or other ways. And it started by being 31%. It arrived to 51%. Actually, it's on 60% violence against women in the whole world. So it's really too much. I will take you know, in France, each 2.5 days, there is a killing of a woman, a womanicide, if you want. This is a country where you have, numbers. Imagine in the Arab countries, in Lebanon, and all the countries. This is a really, really huge problem that we have to face. I don't know. I mean, we have to have laws, regulation internationally. You are telling me what is the good side. I don't know what is the good side. Maybe it's very personal for each person. I worked a lot because as a UN Woman personnel, we try to help as much as possible women. And likely until now, we are working 10 to 12 hours per day to try to help. And my mother is always asking me, did you save the world? I didn't save it, but I'm trying to save. If I save one person or help one person, it's better than not doing anything.
We keep trying as long as we're alive. We keep trying. Thank you very much, Patricia. Certainly confinement and over confinement and lockdown over lockdown is creating domestic violence. No one can be locked down. I mean, here in Canada, it's been since September 21st that we're in a semi-lockdown, full lockdown, or half lockdown, but the result is the same. And some people are in small apartments stuck together for a long time. So yes, it's creating a lot of domestic violence. It's terrible. We now move on to Judy and her take on this question.
Okay, well, everyone's outlined how terrible the results of COVID are, so I won't focus on that. I'm going to focus on the silver lining, as you put it. So the first silver lining is we've never seen more women in positions of power in the public eye. Like, especially at the beginning of COVID, a lot of the public health officials were women, and we were listening to them as authorities. And so I've seen more women as authorities in the last year than I have at any time before that. So that's a positive. And the other positive is that COVID has shone a light on inequalities that already existed, that all of us could see, but that the vast majority of people in society didn't see. So the stats around women taking care of children, for example, having to leave their job because they're taking care of children, not the men. This is also the case in places where women are making more money than men. That's how dramatic the sense of responsibility of women have to taking care of their children. This is when they can't get childcare, when the schools are closed, and also helping them when the schools are online, as they've been in off and on in Canada. So as a result, the inequality of the impact of COVID, even though at the beginning more men were dying of COVID than women, now more women are dying. And the reason is not because COVID chooses women more, but because more women are in precarious situations, frontline workers and so on, right? So because the spotlight's been shone on this, our government, which calls itself a feminist government, I'm not convinced yet, but that's the word they use for themselves. They are talking about a she recovery. They've just yesterday announced a task force, an all-women task force to prepare the next budget for a she recovery that's going to catch women up for all we've lost under COVID, which will, I hope, include a national universal childcare program and hopefully nonprofit. So while COVID has been much harder on women and it's driven us back, I think that there's a possibility, at least in places where you have a strong feminist movement or where the government is relatively friendly to this, to catch back up and to win some demands like a universal childcare program and like a better approach to pay equity than we've been fighting for decades. So that's my silver lining. On a personal level, I had to reinvent myself completely. And I did, and I'm 75, so that feels pretty good. I'm working as a coach now to help women to overcome the barriers they face in social justice work, wherever it might be. So I'm enjoying that.
I think the word that came up a lot in 2021 was pivoting. Everybody was pivoting,
right,
to reinvent themselves. And so whoever did it for better stuff it's a good thing. Thank you very much, Judy. I would, if you don't mind pushing the microphone a bit forward, because I believe there's a bit of interference when you speak.
Okay.
Try it again.
Like, is this better?
Try it again.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
It's precious. We want to hear you. It's very precious what you say. So, and last but not least, Leslie, what's your take on this?
Well, I would say that I don't want to be redundant, and I appreciate it. I didn't know about the she recovery, Judy. That's fabulous. I echo all of what my esteemed panelists expressed. I would say, so I would like to focus on the silver lining. So I believe that people who have been living in untenable situations or challenged relationships, if ever there was a time that people are confined together to actually shine a light or really sort of show the cracks in any given situation, particularly in a domestic situation, that's certainly something that's been happening. I think that there's been a real move forward in terms of a greater awareness of the issue of violence against women in Canada. And as I believe Judy said, we do have shelters, we do have a lot of support, but there's been a lot of homelessness in Canada, certainly in Toronto. A lot of the parks, the big parks in the city are full of tents. I don't know if that's the case in Montreal, but a lot of our big parks have become what is equivalent to Tent City in Toronto. I live just outside of Toronto, but that's been really obvious. But there has been a movement forward with funding in terms of providing shelter and safe spaces for women, children, families, and just in general disenfranchised people. A lot of our mental health service providers have pivoted online. For me, I would say silver lining would be that I finished a screenplay in the early stages of COVID. My mother had the COVID in the first wave. It was terrifying. She had just been moved into long-term care. 49 people died where she was living. She'd had a stroke and she was put there, and it was supposed to be a temporary situation, but my mother survived and continues to survive. But I think it's really taken a toll on seniors and people who are isolated. But I also feel that it's given us an opportunity to address things like universal childcare, to address problems within these institutions, long-term care, essential care. And I think also the fact that, just to echo back something Georgette said, that we need to really look at who's working on the front line. I mean, who's lost their jobs, who continues to work and who continues to be more at risk while we're still experiencing this pandemic. Are women who are working on the front lines as PSWs, working on the front lines in the social service sector, as counselors and social workers. And I think all of it there's an opportunity for change, and social media, there's an opportunity here for us to galvanize, to hold hearts, each other's hands, and join hearts, hands, and minds for a movement forward that could be revolutionary. That is my hope.
Thank you very much, Leslie, and thank God your mom is okay. Yes, to your point, nurses that were always working in the shadow of, we always glorify doctors, but nurses are really on the front line, and we saw it now more than ever. We've all seen them cry in the hallways, whether in Lebanon or in Canada or anywhere else in the world. In terms of homelessness, I just want to remind the people who are listening to us in warm countries, homelessness in Canada is dramatic. It's dramatic. Like the temperature is between -5 and -30. So being a homeless person here is terrible. And yes, we do have shelters. Yes, the government does provide for some of the services, but there's mental health issues. Some of them don't even want to go in a shelter. So they just, they're out there in the cold and the snow. I'm very happy you're such a wonderful and disciplined panel that we're right on time. Now I can take a bit of time to ask each one of you a specific question. Again, you'll have to take 2-3 minutes each, but at least I can focus on each one of you. So I would start with Judy, because you are the star of the movie that we watched. Judy versus Capitalism, that I really enjoyed, Judy versus Capitalism, that you can all watch, you can find it online. You mentioned, first of all, I gotta congratulate you for your courage. It takes courage to put yourself out there, whether in a book or in a movie, to be transparent and to really spill your guts and talk about very personal things. It's very courageous, and we know who does it out of narcissism and look at me, I'm the best, and who does it to advance causes and for the betterment of other women. So I want to thank you because you addressed really difficult things. One, you talked about sexual assault, depression, body image. One sentence that you said just gave me a lump in my throat, and I thought two things. Wow, that's freaking courageous. And two, a lot of women should hear that sentence. You said, I feel safer when I'm fat. And we're talking about body image and how you fluctuated in your in gaining weight and losing weight. And you talked about your professional and your personal life. So I want to thank you for that. When you go public and when you're vulnerable, it's a gift that you give to others. So my question to you is, one, did you hesitate to do this movie? And do you think more women should speak up to encourage more women to speak up?
Did I hesitate? Well, I tell the story that Mike is a good friend of mine. He was a good friend of mine before the movie, and he's a great filmmaker, I think.
I'm sorry, Judy, it's my fault. If you can raise the microphone just a bit.
Oh, raise it now.
Because now it's too low.
Okay, is that better or is that distorted?
It's good.
It's good. Okay. So Mike and I were friends before the film, and he said to me, and I was writing a memoir, which is called Heroes in My Head. So it's a book, it's available. And he said he'd like to make a film about me. So I asked a mutual friend, Velcro Ripper, what did he think? And he said, well, Mike making a film about you is like a great artist wanting to paint your portrait. And so I thought, okay. And I also thought, because Mike's like a total workaholic, so I thought if I do a film with him, I'll see him more, you know. And I wasn't really thinking about all these people seeing the film, because most of Mike's films, he's an experimental filmmaker. Most of his films show in about 3 film festivals that I never heard of, right? So I didn't even think about it in terms of being public, right? I just was talking to Mike. We did it, like he came to my house and he interviewed me in my dining room. And he asked me a question, I answered it, like the weight question, which I didn't write about as much in the book, very much in the book. But he asked me, so I answered, you know, it was like that. I didn't really think about it. And as a matter of fact, the film has gotten way more attention than my book got, especially internationally. So it's kind of been surprising. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is, I think it's important to talk openly about our secrets, because I think a lot of the reason, especially with patriarchy, a lot of the reason that the powers that be get away with what they get away with is that that people feel ashamed about their wounds. They feel ashamed that I was sexually abused by my father. There's a lot of shame in that. Still in my family, there is, right? There's a lot of shame. Nobody wants to admit that. Right. And yet my father was an amazing person in lots of ways. Right. And that is the reality of who's an abuser. It's not just, you know, sort of creepy uncles. Right. Like it's your father. Like every woman I know who was sexually abused as a child was either their father, their older brother, or their older brother. Right. Your uncle doesn't have access to you, your creepy uncle, usually when you're little. So, you know, so I think that by telling the truth, it's hard to do. It creates tension with people who prefer to, you know, denial. Like I used to say, my mother never knew denial was denial was a way of life. I mean, I'm Jewish, and nobody even told me about the Holocaust until I was in high school. Okay, like you just didn't, you know, this philosophy that everything will be fine if we just don't talk about it is one of the reasons so many people are oppressed. Because they're convinced they shouldn't talk about how badly they're being treated. I really think this is particularly true for women, but I think it's true for everyone. So at the end of the film, I say, maybe telling this story is the most revolutionary act, is my most revolutionary act, which is not something I would have thought 20 years ago at all, right? But I think now that we have to tell the truth about our lives and about how wounded we are. And then the other thing is somebody like me who's seen as a very powerful person. I'm going on too long?
No.
Someone like me who's seen as a very, you know, I'm a public figure. I'm very well known in Canada, at least to people over 50. And, you know, and I'm seen as a very powerful person because I learned how to lead from men. So I act like a man. I always know what I think. I never doubt, you know, all those things. I try not to do it anymore, but it's how I trained myself. And so people don't want to see somebody like me as having mental health problems, right? They think, you know, they think if you're strong, you're perfect. And that's a patriarchal notion. Most people who are very strong, even charismatic, are very wounded people. You know, there's a reason you develop this strength. It's because you had to survive something terrible. That's why I developed my strength, was because I had to survive something terrible. And the ability to survive that as a child gave me power. And yet we don't want to look at that. You know, half of the people running the world, they're psychopaths, you know. I mean, seriously, psychopaths. Certainly Donald Trump is a narcissist of the most extreme version, and yet we don't think of them as having mental health problems. They have, and look at the horror they inflict on the world because of that, right? So I think that we need to change how we talk about this. So by me doing it, I hope to help that. I think Mike's film does it better than my book, to tell you the truth, but I tried to do it in my book. I'm not as great an artist as he is, though. I'm a good writer, but I'm a journalist, so it doesn't come across as powerfully as the film.
No, he did a good job, and it's not perceived at all. It's not, we didn't feel like voyeurs. We felt privileged, right, first of all. And what you call secrets, I call it struggles and wounds. And sharing them is a gift that you give to others, because they will relate to you, and it will make them probably stronger. And they will be willing to fight because you're giving them the tools to. So I really thank you for that. Thank you, Judy. One day we'll all go have a drink somewhere in live.
That would be so nice.
Please God. Leslie. So thank you very much, Judy. Leslie. Big Steps on Big Screen is actually the title for this panel. So let's talk, and you're in the movie business. So let's talk about the big screen. Is it a good platform for activism, for advancing causes, for bringing to light certain issues? Versus social media, that's, you know, by the way, the television was in its golden era with the pandemic, because we got stuck at home and we were tired of using our screens and social media. So television finally saw better days. But what is your take on the big screen and movies versus social media in terms of big issues and advancing causes?
Well, first I'd like to speak to film and to cinema. And I've always believed that film is a fantastic medium and a catalyst for change. I feel that, speaking to Judy's film, the personal is universal. And we often see this in documentaries, whereby the story is very personal. The journey of the filmmaker is very personal. Documentarians, and particularly women, and I can speak to this from my perspective as the director of the Female Eye Film Festival, are very, there's nothing gratuitous. It's very truthful. And I'm always amazed at where documentarians are able to go in terms of mining the story, the heart and the soul of the story. And I feel that film is a very powerful tool. I feel all art is a powerful tool. And in terms of bringing awareness, shining a light on social justice issues and so on. And I'm sorry, I forgot the question. I lost track of the question.
It's basically comparing movies and the silver screen to social media when it comes to big issues in terms of it's activism, basically, but
it's activism. I feel personally that currently just moving into this digital space. So for example, the Female Eye Film Festival, for those of you who are interested, launched last night on Encore Plus, with a tribute to Patricia Rozema. And we're showing films throughout the month free on Uncon Plus, and then we're pivoting to TIFA Lightbox March 26th to the 28th, and we're showing phenomenal films from the foreign filmmaking community at TIFF and other films. I feel social media is the wild, wild west. It is uncontained, it is uncontrollable. There's great opportunities for communicating. It's a great communication tool, but I also feel it's also a weapon. And I feel it can be very dangerous. And I feel that messages and intent and communication sometimes becomes obscured, even in a text message. Even in, I feel there's no tone, there's no person, there's no context. Sometimes there's not enough context in terms of social media and how issues and how messages are transmitted. They have their limitations. I feel with film, the only difference is you have a singular person or a group of people who have a mission, an intent to communicate a story, whether it's scripted, fiction, documentary, experimental, animation, it doesn't matter. There is a message, there's a story they're telling, and it's contained. It's contained. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And there's opportunity for communication and audience Q&A and feedback and critical response. But it, in of itself, it's a contained medium, film is. Social media is not contained. I don't think so. Or perhaps I'm not as advanced as some of my esteemed the members of the panel, but that is how I see the difference between film and social media in terms of being a communication tool.
Leslie, you are right on in terms of a communication expert and consultant. I can tell you this, a movie director, a movie producer, actors, they are professionals. There is a script, there's a writer, there's a scenario. People thought about the messagings, about the impact of that movie. Mm-hmm. They are professionals leading that. Yes, the social media, it is the wild, wild west, where so-called, nobody is an expert, but they have the platform to kind of perform as an expert. And we've seen it with COVID-19, with opinions on vaccines, with opinions that come from non-professionals. So I urge everyone listening to validate the source. Who is this expert? What is their source? What study, what are you reading? Is it The Lancet? Is it a medical journal? Is it, what are you saying? It's a responsibility. When you open your mouth or you touch your keyboard, it's a responsibility. So thank God for movie directors.
I worry for the impact of miscommunication and how dangerous it is. And we certainly saw that during the Trump administration, that it can be very, very dangerous. And I hope that this will evolve as a more healthful platform for communication. We all know about bullying and all of that, but anyway, enough said. But
we need a smart audience to wake up. Thank you very much, Leslie. I have a question. It's great. We will have 5 minutes at the end for 1 or 2 questions, hopefully, but we still have to listen to Patricia and Georgette. So I have a question for Patricia first. What are the recommendations that would lead to more gender equality? If you can narrow it down. I know 2 minutes is not enough, but if you can.
Yes, I would say that first of all is education. And like Georgette said, we have to educate girls and boys to give them the same opportunities and the same self-confidence, because also like Georgette said, the key problem is that girls grow up with less self-confidence than boys. And we have, this is a great French authors that said that gender equality will be attained when as much women, incompetent women, are in the leading roles as men. It means that many incompetent men goes for the leading roles, and they have it because no women will apply, because she like Georgette said, she will want to be 90% competent to have this job. The man with 60%, even with 30% of the competency will apply. So I will tell women, kindly apply. You are competent. You have, if you decide, you will win. So apply. You must have this self-confidence. Very important education of boys and men, and this is the responsibility also of women, mothers and fathers, to do so. I thank my father and my mother to have given me same equal opportunity than my fathers, especially for Lebanon. I would say we need a civil law to have gender equality, to have same rights in marriage, divorce, in all the fields. We need a civil law. And to conclude, I say, if we want a better future, we have to make the change. We have to be the change. I ask all the women to apply to the leading roles, to apply to the decision-making position. A critical mass of women in the decision-making position will make the difference in the world. I believe, strongly believe, that the future of mankind is women.
Bien dit. I second that. Bien dit. We do love them, but we know what we have to do. Georgette, again, last but not least, women.
My last name starts with a Z.
You know what? I thought of that in class. You would probably had a lot of time to prepare because you were called last. Women helping empower women is the name of your power force that you have created. Yeah. So, do you think we're doing well, and what can we do better?
So let me just say, I created WU, Women Helping Empower Women, for a reason. Based on the research, based on my own experience working for many years in an academic institution and in the workforce, and the stories that I heard, certainly when I was doing my research and speaking to women, I realized there's a real opportunity for us to rethink what it is that we know about ourselves. And I wanted to create a nonprofit that actually had some key things in my head, like that were like what I would call our unique value proposition. So all of the board members that are on this board are really unique for many reasons. First, they all come from different ethnicities. They come from different sectors. They've all reached, really great levels and positions in the sectors that they're in. And they all want to give back in some way. So I think that's important. The other part was we wanted to create something through WU that would allow us to empower, to educate, to elevate, to engage, and get people to really think about expanding their opportunity. So as everyone has said so far, we have to be thinking about how do you give women the confidence to take the risks, the tools. So it's one thing to say, yeah, you can do it, but I want to show you how you can do it. I just want to talk about it. I want you to think about how you can get there. What does that work back plan look like? And then how are you going to get to the things that you want to achieve? Because we can talk about it, but often what I hear from women is, I don't know where to start. We're going to help you figure out how to start. And I think we have to redefine a community of women that are and men, where all genders are helping each other, because I think that's also really important. And what we really want to do is actually create an organization that once it gets a little bit more momentum, we want to be able to support other organizations that share our vision and our cause. So I think all of these things are important. And I think, women rethinking what they know, like I always say to people, why not you? And the one thing I tell my kids is if you don't ask, you don't get. So if you ask for something and you put yourself out there and you get a no, so what? Did the world just end because I got a no? No, I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to rethink my strategy and I'm going to go at it again. Now, if you're going to keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. But if you rethink your strategy to do that, and I think it's also important for women to be thinking about how to create a small little board of advisors for themselves. So not your best buddies who are going to tell you how amazing you are. You want to get some people who are going to be at a bit of arm's length that are going to say, you know what, Georgette, this is really good, but here's where I think you can improve, or here's how I see this. So it's critical. It's not tearing down. It's actually really thoughtful feedback for you in order for you to get to where you need to go. And I think all of that will develop leadership, capabilities, opportunities. And this is what we're hoping to develop through WU and all the other stuff. So if people are interested, it's www.wewwomen.com. Join us.
Fantastic, Georgette. Yes, I agree with you. It's constructive criticism. It's not to tear women down or bring them down. I have a group of men that I used to go and smoke cigars and drink with once a month because I learn a lot by being one of the boys. And they just throw criticism and tear each other apart, and it's they laugh, and it's so easy. So
you know, but if you instead of thinking of it as criticism, think of it as feedback. And you know,
yeah, no, I mean, for
my
them,
friend says, one of my good friends says, feedback is a gift. So if we can think of feedback as a gift, then let's take these gifts and be better and stronger.
of course, and they've been doing it for ages without even flinching. It's very easy. You know, you say, shut up, okay, shut up, and then you move forward. So we need to learn a bit of this quick method. I want to thank really all four of you. We should have one day a live debate on a real stage with 1,600 people. Let's fantasize a bit here because this life will come back. Before I go to a question that I'm going to pick in the chat, hopefully I might take a question or a statement from a man because we've been, you know, just to give them a bit of
Can I add something?
Oui, Patricia.
Just to say that in the Arab movies and in Lebanon, because we are talking about movies, we have also to control the fact that in all the movies, man slaps women, take them by the hair. It's a normal thing. And when you have small girls, small boys seeing those movies, it stays in their head that it's normal that a husband treats her wife this way, and the girl will think that it's normal to be treated likewise. So we have also to, if it's possible, I don't know, to have something to help the Arab cinema and the Lebanese cinema to remove those scenes that are really, really very common. In each movie, you know, I don't look at movies usually. I'm waiting for the news. While I'm waiting for the news, you have the, you know, broadcasting about this movie, and you always have a scene like this. I mean, I'm not watching the movies and I'm seeing this. Imagine the small girls and small boys getting used to see that it's very normal to slap the wife and to be treated like this as a woman. This was concerning the movies because we have three ladies that are in this industry. We have
totally agree. I once gave hell to the Minister of Culture about some of the TV shows and the movies that air on TV in every household in Lebanon, where you have stupidity. It's not only, you know, I'm not going to name a few women artists who are totally stupid. They can't even sing properly. So the image of women out there in the media, or first of all, it starts at home with the education, and then the schools, and then the movies, and the TV, and all the video clips. And here in North America, we are seeing gangster rap movies where the women are treated like, it's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So our girls grow up thinking it's normal to first of all, showcase all this skin and to behave this way.
Can I say something speaking to film? What's very interesting, the Female Eye, as you know, is dedicated to films directed by women. And what I noticed over the years, and I think I said it when we had an early conversation, is that women tend, I would say over 99% of the women films that come to us are not only written, but also directed by that women, often produced by the same person. Women treat sex and violence very differently than nothing is gratuitous. Often the violence is something you do not see. But I feel a responsibility in terms of the films that we present at the festival. We have 24 people watching films, but I watch all of their selections. We would never show a misogynist film at the Female Eye. I think it should be a responsibility of international film festivals, of which there are many, that we do not propagate this type of language and behavior in cinema. I was in Sayulita, a wonderful film festival a year ago, and I was horrified by some of the films that I was seeing. One was exactly as you described. The woman was getting pulled by her hair, beaten every time she spoke, a slap in the face. It was supposed to be a comedy. I'm like, my goodness, I was so traumatized, as I have been on some of the things that I've been privy to on social media. So it was terrible, but I think there's a responsibility within the film and television industry to be accountable and responsible for what we put out.
I totally agree. And what I want to do now, because it's 12:29 and I promise this will finish at 12:30, I'll just take 30 seconds and then leave the floor to Sam for the final wrap up of all this. So my final 1 minute word is, first of all, I want to thank all 4 panelists. It's fantastic to see women of all ages, although I feel we're all sisters in this, from the same age and the same race and the same planet. It's fantastic to see all your different experiences come together for the same very good fight, that we do it elegantly but surely. I want to thank with all my heart Votre Excellence, Madame l'ambassadrice du Canada au Liban, Madame Chantal Chastenay, qui est restée avec nous 1h30. C'est vraiment sympa de votre part. Je suis très fière de voir derrière vous le drapeau du Canada et le drapeau du Liban. Ça me rend très heureuse de voir que ce panel, c'est vraiment des femmes, c'est l'Orient et l'Occident qui se battent plus ou moins pour les mêmes choses, de manière différente, mais dans le même objectif. Donc, merci d'avoir été là et c'est vraiment un grand plaisir et j'espère vous revoir, soit à Montréal, soit à Beyrouth au soleil. Je préfère Beyrouth au soleil, mais en attendant, c'est ce qu'il y a. Sarah Al-Abed, I wish I had time to ask you 2,000 questions. Maybe we'll have to do a panel. On fera une autre séance avec toi. Peut-être Sam ou Haylov pourraient organiser quelque chose. Moi, je dois respecter le temps parce que mon rôle de modératrice est un rôle très difficile. Je remercie Sam et Haylov pour leur confiance et je laisse la parole à Sam et merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Thank you, Lamia, for leading this interesting panel, and thank you for everyone who participated, all the panelists and all the partners and collaborators. Thank you, Sarah, for being with us also. I would have loved to hear you also talking about the film space in Tunisia. You know how this connection that is present between Lebanon and Tunisia, we share the culture and we share the causes and the language and also all the values. And also we share beautiful filmmaking. I consider that filmmaking in Tunisia and Lebanon are among the top and also Morocco and the Arab world. So hopefully we will have later other occasions to collaborate. I would like also to thank the Embassy of Canada to Lebanon, Her Excellency Ambassador Chastenay. I promise you that we will have, hopefully, we will have a live festival both in Canada for the Lebanese Film Festival in Canada and in Beirut for the Beirut International Women Film Festival. For all those who are listening to us, Judy versus Capitalism and Ain't No Time for Women will be in the official selection, the festival, competing in the best documentary competition. Near more than 60 other films selected by our lovely professional programmers, the program director Dr. Nicolas Khabbaz and the programmers Maria Abdelkarim and Olga Korotko, who are taking care of who are now watching the hundreds of films to do the final selection. So hopefully we'll meet soon live in the theaters in Beirut and in Canada, maybe in October for those festivals. For the meantime, thank you all, and it was a great opportunity to meet you all and to hear you today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.